In this video, I'm going to talk about how to get started to film your first video. That could be for YouTube or any other social media platform that you want. I'm going to focus on YouTube. It really doesn't need to be complicated. And if you find it complicated, it's probably because you're overcomplicating it yourself. All you really need to know, if I had to summarize it in a few seconds, is get a phone or a recording device and hit record and talk about something. And that is it. That is literally all you need to do to film your first video. But I understand that you probably have more concerns and questions, and there are probably things that are stopping you from getting started, or things that you're worried about fixing before you get started. What you need to understand is that your first video, or your first 50, 100 videos, they don't need to be perfect. They never will be. You'll never make a perfect video. Even Mr. Beast says that. It's not possible to make a perfect video. There's always something that you could do better. So with that in mind, you need to understand that your first video is not probably going to be good. If it is, congratulations, because you are way ahead of everybody else already. But if you go back and look at Mr. Beast's first videos, they're pretty bad. They are what you will probably create today. But that doesn't mean that you won't be successful and that you won't improve in the future. Making those bad videos is part of the process. It's part of improving. And everybody just needs to focus on improving small pieces as they go. Now, you can only improve those small pieces if you know what you've done wrong in the first place. So if you film a video and you see things like, oh, the lighting was really bad, it's hard to see me, or my audio was bad, or maybe the angle was off, or whatever it is, you can then note those things down and work on improving them. So for your next video, that part might be fixed or at least improved. And it just continues from there. So it doesn't need to be stressful. It's literally just pick up a device and record yourself. Now, I know that some people face psychological barriers, and I've made a video about this, and all the videos and all the links to gear and software and everything is going to be down in the description below. So you can find everything all laid out for you in a video description. But you might have some sort of barriers psychologically to getting started. You're worried about what people are going to think. You're worried about what you're going to think, or how you're going to sound, or how you're going to look, or that you won't know what to talk about, or you'll get stuck. And you saw I just got stuck. I have some notes here. I purposefully left these in view for you so I could show you. I have a tablet with Google Slides, and I have bullet points basically that I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to glance at that throughout the video to keep myself on track, and that's fine. That's okay. We'll come back to that in a minute. But psychologically, the fears are based on the fact you're going to fail in some way. But you are going to fail in some way. It's or many ways. But you just got to get it done. Just hit record and don't care, because there are people out there who will like that. They will like the fact you just hit record. In fact, one of my most popular videos is where I just took my phone out, my DJI Pocket 3, sorry, my camera, out in the forest, and I just hit record. And that's one of my most popular videos. So people won't mind. Some people will mind, but they're not the people who are probably going to watch you. And no one's going to really see you at the start anyway, because you're going to be so small and you get so little views and impressions that the videos are literally almost for you anyway. And of course, you can always remove them later if you really want to, when you've improved. I'm not going to do that, because that's part of my channel, to see the journey. But if that's not your thing, just delete them or just hide them. So psychologically, I have a video about all the problems, all the reasons or excuses that people come up with to not get started, and that'll be linked. But the main thing is that you just need to put aside all those fears and anxieties, if you like, and just hit the button, record, and just film yourself. I mean, that's the first step, right? You don't even need to show it to anyone. But if you started to film yourself, then you might just think, what the hell, upload. And you put it out there. And then you are a content creator, because you've made a video. And you're probably ahead of 99% of other people who haven't and who want to. Now, you might be worried about your niche. What are you going to talk about? You might have no idea, or you might have a good idea of what you want to talk about, but you might have so many subjects that you just don't know where to start. And so if that's the case, you just got to pick something. You literally just have to pick something and start talking about it. I'm not a big fan of cars. I like them, but I'm not bothered about them. But if you said, make a video about cars, I could make you a 5-minute video about cars, just sitting here talking about cars. I'm not going to do that now because that would be super boring for you and it'll make this video really long. But the point is that you just got to pick something that you're interested in or you're knowledgeable about and just make a video about it. Or just talk about it. We'll come back to scripting and stuff in a minute. But niching down can be done later. If you know exactly what your niche is now, that's great. Just go with that. But if you don't, if you have loads of things you want to talk about, just talk about one of them. And you can talk about another one in the next video and a different one in the next video. People might just like hearing about your lifestyle. They might also not. And then you might decide later that you'll niche down into something specific. But you can change that later. It doesn't have to be decided from the start. So just pick a subject and talk about something. Write some down, put a mark next to one and talk about that. So you've got to understand or decide where you're going to record. Now that could be indoors and outdoors. It could be you're sitting down like I am today. You could be standing up. You could be walking around. I've got a video about my studio setup, so you can go and watch that. It's in the description if that helps you to decide a location or how to design one. But you can literally just go outside, or you can literally sit down in front of something like I have today and make a video. It doesn't have to be complicated. The important thing is just hit and record. If it's just a portrait version of you sitting in a chair, it's okay. Just do that. So location only really matters for things like lighting and equipment. So let's talk about those. So lighting then, indoors or outdoors, you can probably find a place where you can get natural light, daylight. And that is the absolute best thing to use for lighting to get a good recording. So if you sit by a window or you go outside, you're probably good to go. If you can't do that and you need to do it inside, sit by a window. If you can't do that, use whatever lighting you have. Ceiling lights, lamps, like I think the one you can see over here, whatever you have, just put that near you and that should light you up enough that it'll be good enough, because that part isn't really that important. It might seem like it to you and you watch all these flash videos with all kinds of super animations and stuff, but you don't need any of that stuff. And you don't need good lighting, not to start with. You can improve it later. Now, if you want something really easy and really flexible and you want to be able to move around your house a lot and do stuff like that, you can drag a lamp around if you want, or you can just invest in something really cheap like this little key light here, which is from Neewer. I'll link it in the description again. It has, I'll turn it on for you so you can see, it's not very bright at the moment. It's on 28%. But basically what this has is it has a percentage for the light level and it has a Kelvin level, which is basically the color of the light. And that is the difference between something like this and something like your ceiling lights, is that this will give you the opportunity to change the lighting warmth, if you like. And what that does is allow you to actually dial in whatever look you want, but it also allows you to get a daylight setting, which is basically exactly mimics what you'd get coming through your window. So you can then take a light like that, or a bigger version, which I'll also link. I'm using one now actually off camera. I'll show you that later. And I am basically just using that on my desk, and that's the only light I really need for my desk setup. You can see that in my studio setup video. So daylight, if you can't do that, whatever lights you have. If you want to make it a bit easier and more professional and you want something portable and chargeable like that, you can just walk around with, put it wherever you want and start filming. Buy something like that. Link in the description. So what other equipment do you need? Not much. You've probably got a phone, and if you do, that is really all you need. You can get started just with that. And if you hold the phone in your hand, you can absolutely do that. Here's an old iPhone I've got. But what you can also do is buy something like this. This is basically a selfie stick with a phone mount attached, and it just screws on the top there. You put your phone in there. We just do that. There we go. And your phone's in there, you're good to go. The reason you might want something like this is because not only is this a selfie stick where you can get good shots of yourself and you can get different lengths, but it's also massively extendable. This goes to like 2 meters or sort of over 2 meters, I think, at least 2 meters. And if you pop open the bottom here, like so, it is also a tripod. And so you can set this on your desk, you can set it on the floor. If you're moving around your house or you're out and about, you can set it on the floor and you can film whatever it is, either yourself, or if you're doing like a product review thing, you could see that this could point down and film that. And obviously this is changeable to whatever angle you want. So something like this is very, very, very useful. Now you can just, of course, hold the phone in your hand and record yourself. And if you want to get started that way, that's great. But if you're sitting in a table or a desk or something, you might want something like this that you can stand up and use. And this is very inexpensive. I'll link it in the description. That's one of the key things I would recommend that you consider buying if you have any type of budget. The only other thing that you actually don't need but would be really, really useful is a mic like this one. Now you can buy any type of mic you like, a desk-based mic or one that you have on a big arm that comes out from your desk if you're only going to be recording in front of your computer. But if you're like me, I have that set up too. You can see it in my studio video, but I also have this little DJI mic because having a portable mic like this massively improves your sound quality. And sound quality is probably one of the most important things. It's more important than the visual quality of your videos. So if you have any budget, a selfie stick / tripod and a mic would be highly recommended. I'll link this one in the description as well. That will up your game massively and allow you much more flexibility in what you do, because phone cameras are great, but phone mics are pretty bad. If you need to get good audio out of a phone mic, the main thing you want to do is make sure you're not in the wind. This takes care of wind because it has a little wind muff, so it doesn't get affected by wind. If I'm out in the wind, you won't hear any wind on here, but this will sound terrible in the wind. So, I mean, you could put something around it if you need to, I guess, but ultimately this is going to sound bad in the wind. It's also going to sound bad if there's background noise and all that type of stuff as well. So the best thing to do if you're filming yourself is to get fairly close to the mic so that you don't pick up a lot of the ambient noise and stuff, and you'll get a much better signal the closer you are to the mic. But obviously you don't want to talk like that. But maybe, you know, this sort of distance is good. You don't want to have it over there and try and shout at it from the other side of the room. That won't work. So that is all you need to think about with the phone. The cameras are great. You may never even need another camera, to be honest, with a phone. It depends what type of content you want to do, of course, and stuff. If you want to do a sort of cinematic blogs and or vlogs, sorry, you might want a better camera. But ultimately, you can do pretty much everything with just one of those. Let's talk about scripting. So how do you actually go about making a video? Now I'm literally just talking at you here. I've got some notes. You can, if I put them close enough, you can even probably read them. It's not much. It's one slide of notes for this whole video. And the reason I'm able to do that is because I've practiced, basically. But you might just be able to do it anyway. You might just be able to go and talk about something and it's good. But you've got 3 options really when it comes to how you're going to present your video. You have completely unscripted, just off the cuff talking, which is mostly what I'm doing here. Now, if you can't do that, or you feel that's too difficult, there's no right or wrong answer here. So if you don't want to do that, you might want to make some notes, and they might be more extensive notes than what I have here, but it makes it much easier to keep yourself on track if you have a bunch of notes. Now, the third option is a full script. Now, of course, what you don't want to do is sit there and read out a full script from your device, that would probably make a fairly bad video. But what you can do is get something inexpensive like a teleprompter. I have one that I use on some of my videos. Maybe 40% of my videos are on a teleprompter, maybe. And that is just basically a simple thing you can attach to either a camera, or you can have a phone mounted behind it, and it has a screen, and you use a device to project onto the teleprompter, and you can read the words off of it, like they use on the TV, basically. And that is if you want a fully scripted video where you literally are reading a script. Now, the advantage of that is you don't miss anything, but the disadvantage is it can be difficult for you to feel natural and to seem natural if that's what you're trying to achieve. Dave Geltimer, I'll put a thing on the screen somewhere about his channel. He uses a teleprompter for every single video that he makes. So it's really up to you. Scripted, just notes, or unscripted. I would advise for your first video that you maybe go in the middle and get some notes, but just go off the cuff and then read off the notes when you need them. What else have we got? So your tech ability and your time. I mean, you don't have to be on camera. So not being on camera eliminates a lot of the stress perhaps for you. It eliminates the fact that you need equipment like a camera, and it also maybe changes the way you edit. So you can do a faceless channel. They do work. I have a faceless channel. I have two, actually, two other faceless channels. One has 101 subscribers, only have, I don't know, a few videos on there, just over 10, I think. And the other one, in fact, the previous ones from 6 years ago, has around, I think, 10 videos. And that one has 772 subscribers. Haven't touched it for 6 years. I've got videos about that too. But those are both faceless channels because I'm showing tutorials about software and stuff, and I figured no one really needs to see my face. And that eliminates the whole filming part and the whole lighting part and everything. So, I mean, you can start like that. It's possible, especially if you're doing sort of narrated content. Let's say you're doing a woodwork channel. You go into your garage, you are creating a table. Do people need to see you on camera? Maybe, but they could just see your hands doing stuff with the machines and the tools. So it just depends. And then you don't even need to talk during a video. What you could do is focus on the process that you're doing. And then in editing, you just basically do a voiceover where you talk over it and explain what you're doing. And there's people who do combinations of those two things. They film themselves talking like I am, and then they maybe narrate something about some B-roll later. Wild Bear's an example of that. She does that a lot. I will link her channel too. Anyway, so your tech ability doesn't really matter. You don't need to be technical for this. You can literally make it as simple and easy as you want. And that brings us on to editing. You will see all kinds of styles of editing on YouTube. A complete range of no editing at all the way through to hyper edited, graphics, things flying everywhere, that sort of thing. I appreciate it, but that is not me. And when I make videos with a lot of editing in, I kind of feel drained. I don't really enjoy editing that much. And honestly, depending on what you're doing, you don't necessarily need to edit. In fact, you can do very minimal editing or no editing at all. So I would advise that if you're worried about editing and you don't have any experience, or you don't know what to do, or you're not technical, just don't edit it at the start. Don't edit it at all. What you can do though is cut out silences, repetitions and stuff with very, very basic knowledge. It's literally, you have a timeline with your file on. You use a pair of scissors to cut it, and you cut out the section where you sat there for ages, not saying anything. And so the piece where you're talking will then flow into the next piece, because you delete that part and it all squashes together and that part's gone. You can even do that through programs like Descript or Adobe Podcast, where you have a transcript. It will listen to your audio file, make a transcript into text, and then it will read that text, and you will be able to edit the text to cut out pieces. It will show you where the gaps are. It will show you everything. So you can cut out whole phrases by just deleting the text, like in a Word document, and it will then take care of the video file for you and eliminate that part. But editing doesn't need to be complicated. You can use a free version of, say, CapCut, for example, which is what I use. I have the paid version, but you can use a free version of something like CapCut. There's a ton of free versions of software out there. What I'll do is I'll put a table on the screen now with a few options and a few advantages and disadvantages, so you can take a look. The main idea is that your editing can be free, or you can have a more advanced or more options by going with a paid version of software. But there are softwares out there like DaVinci Resolve, which is a steep learning curve, especially if you're not technical, but it's super powerful. I mean, literally they make films with this thing, and it's free, and 95% of the features are free, and you could use the free version through your entire YouTube career and never need to pay. And if you do want to pay, it's a one-off payment of like $300, and then you own it and you never have to pay again, and you get all the updates and everything. It's open source. It's great, but it is more complicated. So if you're on that level and you think, yeah, you know, I'm pretty technical, I can learn stuff, or I'm relish the challenge of learning, let's go with something like DaVinci Resolve. But if you want to keep it simple and just get started fast and be able to produce things faster, you want something a bit more drag and drop and easy like CapCut, or even going back down even further to something like Descript, Adobe Podcast, or Adobe Express also has video editing. There really are a lot of options. I'll post them all on the screen. You don't need to worry about that too much now, but just look at the table, assess it based on your skill level, your experience, how much editing you think you want to do, if you relish the idea of editing or not, and go with the one that fits you best. I'll put all the options on the screen. Resources. You don't want to just sit here in a chair talking. You want to have some B-roll, but you don't really know how to film it yourself. There are websites like Unsplash, Pexels. There are more. Again, I'll put some on the screen for you, and you can get free resources, free video files, free stock footage, free photos, pictures, graphics, all sorts of stuff from those. I personally use Envato, which has music, sound effects, stock footage, photos, graphics, has transitions for DaVinci Resolve and all the other Final Cut Pro, all the other big software. It literally has everything in one, and it's a very cheap actually. I think it's around the price that Canva is, somewhere around the sort of $10 to $15 mark. And I'll put it on the screen for you. And that does everything. So any stock footage or sounds or music I need, and it's all royalty free. You can get that. And there's plenty of services out there. It's not the only one, it's just the one I use. Time. You don't have time. Two things I'll say about time. One thing, you can always find time. You can always make time. If you look at your schedule carefully for the week and you actually write down what you do, you'll find time. You'll find time when you're wasting time. You're sitting around looking at your phone, you're watching Netflix, you're cooking food that takes 3 hours to cook when you could probably cook something that takes 30 minutes. You'll always be able to find some time if you really want to. If you struggle with time, a great way to make videos is to pick a location and set it up like I have today, and then film 4 videos in one go, in one sitting. One 5-minute video, done. Next one, 5 minutes, done. Next one, 6 minutes, done. Next one, 10 minutes, done. You have 4 videos now. You can reach 1 a week. You have all your videos done for a month in one batch, in one session of maybe, let's say, 2 hours to set everything up, to film them, and then to pack away. What that does also is it means you don't have to set up everything each time if you don't have a dedicated recording space. So that works really well. So batching is something that will save you a lot of time if you want to do it that way. It's not required, but if you don't have time, consider doing batching. Thumbnails. You're worried about thumbnails. You can literally take a still shot from the video in most software, including CapCut. There's a download frame. I can't remember exactly what it's called now, but it basically will You can search frame by frame through your video, and when you find a good pose, you can then just take a screenshot of that, and it will have a great thumbnail image that you just then need to add text over here to. If I was sitting here like this, and I added some text here, that is my thumbnail. You don't have to have any design knowledge, any design experience. You can do that in Canva for free. There's a paid version as well, of course, which is much more feature rich, but you can literally do that in Canva for free. So thumbnails, you don't need to worry about, just make one. People will tell you, oh, your thumbnail is super important. Yeah, but when you're making your first videos, is it? I mean, no one's going to see it anyway, no matter how good your thumbnail is probably. And there are people that are successful with the worst possible thumbnails you can imagine. And there are people in between, and there are people with super produced thumbnails like Mr. Beast. All of them can be successful. So what makes a good thumbnail is subjective, and it depends on the people who are looking at your video. So just make a thumbnail with a still image of your video and some text, because that's the simplest way to get started. Uploading. You uploading a video to YouTube. You go into your YouTube channel, you press the create button, and it will ask you to select a file. You upload the file. You then have to put in a title, description, and a few other bits and pieces, a few other questions you need to answer. How do you come up with good titles? How do you write a description? ChatGPT. It is literally as simple as that. If you can't come up with a good title for your video or a good description, go to ChatGPT, tell it what type of video you've made, what it's about, who your audience is, stuff like that. Write one paragraph for it describing what your video is about, and tell it, make me a description, make me a thumbnail text, make me a title text or a selection of titles that I can choose from, and make me tags. And it will do all of those things. And all you then need to do is copy and paste that stuff into your video description, copy and paste it into your title, whichever one you like. And that's it. If it doesn't give you exactly the right title, it will give you enough inspiration to come up with your own one. And it does a pretty good job of actually making titles. That's as simple as you need it to be honest. If you're struggling with that stuff, just use ChatGPT, ask it to produce something for you, and then edit it to your liking, put it in, you're done. When do you upload? Doesn't matter. What time of day, what day it is, doesn't matter. Don't worry about any of that. All you need to do, get your phone, film yourself, add any of the other equipment that you like if you want to, add any of the software you like that we talked about if you need to edit. And that's literally as simple as it needs to be. You don't need anything else. So I hope that's been helpful. That really is the entire process that you need to think about. I think I've addressed pretty much everything, and it's become a longer and more complicated video than perhaps it needs to be, because all you need to do is just hit record. But I wanted to make sure that you have the answers to some of the questions that you might have. And just all of those things we talked about, 90% of them you can do over time. You don't need to do them now. You don't need to worry about them now. So just hit record and get started. And if you have, or you're going to, let me know in the comments below. So I said I would show you my setup for the day, and here it is. That's my chair that I was sitting in. There's my notes on the floor. Here's my tripod. That is my DJI Pocket 3 camera, which I use for all of my videos. That's on an old tripod that had a sort of telescope / rangefinder on it. And it's still recording because I haven't stopped it yet. And then we have an Elgato key light here on another tripod. This is about 30 centimeter light, I think. And that's something I've had for years, but it's good. And I just thought I'd bring that out today and use it to add a little bit of extra light to my scene there, which you can see there. Here is a mini tripod attached to the top of it. This is a small rig magic arm, and it screws into the top of there. What normally happens is you attach this to your desk, and then you have a camera or a light or whatever attached to this end, and it's a fantastic little tripod that you can attach to pretty much anything. You can attach it to a desk, a tree branch, whatever. And then this is a big diffuser panel, basically what that does is it diffuses the light coming through, so it spreads it out a bit more. It's hard to see that probably on this camera when I'm filming it, but this also has its own diffuser, so I don't really need this. I just have it, and I thought I'd use it for today to soften the light a bit that shines onto me there.